As a web designer, you might want to represent a lot of data in a tabular form. Something like this. That's what we're going to learn in this video on how to create tables. So if you go to the Mozilla documentation, there's a very good explanation on how tables work, and there's a very good information on w3schools.com as well. But we're going to take a look in this video as well. So I have this simple HTML file which is totally empty, and I have a CSS file over here as well. So I'm going to simply create via my shortcut the HTML template, and over here I'm simply going to import this CSS file as well. So link, and it's in CSS folder style.css, and I'm going to call it tables. Perfect. Now let's take a look. I'm going to create an element called table, and that's pretty much it. So if I save, refresh, nothing seems to happen. All right. Now the way tables work is that tables have rows and columns. Rows go horizontally and columns go vertically from top to bottom, right? So in tables in HTML, you first have to create a row in which you're going to contain certain cells, all right? To create these rows, you say tr. So tr element is created. Now inside this tr element, you're going to create different cells, all right? So I'm going to save, refresh, and nothing happens still, but the container has been made. Now inside tr, as I said, you're going to create a cell, right? This cell of the table. And that's done by td. td stands for table data. tr stands for table row. So td is the cell basically. And over here in my first cell, I'm just going to say Aziz. Save, refresh, and this Aziz shows up. Now, not a big deal, right? This is not a table yet. Sure, it is actually a table in the background. It just has one cell, that's why you don't see the rest. But just to show you that this is a table, let's style these elements. So I'm going to come over here and say, okay, if there's a table element, table selector, just put some border of 1 pixel, solid, and black. All right, save, refresh, and you see the table is actually black. That's why you see it's a table actually with just one cell so far. Now let's come over here and say, hey, I don't want one cell, I actually want multiple cells. So I'm going to come over here and create another cell inside the same row. All right, so I'm going to come here and say Ali. Save, refresh, and you see Aziz Ali is over here as well. But you may say, hey, it doesn't seem like a table still. It doesn't have a separator. Actually, the reason again is because it's not styled. The TD elements are not styled. So I'm going to come over here and say, okay, not just the table should have borders, but the TD element should also have borders as well. So I'm going to simply come here, put a comma, and say TD. Save, refresh, and now you see that Aziz and Ali both seems to be in different cells because they are actually styled. The only reason you didn't see it is because you were not seeing the separation with the borders. Okay, so that's how you create a row. So let's say if you have multiple items, you can create another row. So you say tr again, and you say I'm going to put in another cell and another row. So I'm going to come in over here and say, let's say I'm going to put another name, another, and name. Save, refresh, and you see another name is in the next row, and since this is a table, it expanded itself to accommodate the information inside the tables. So that's basically how you create tables. Now, a lot of times your tables will have headers, right? So let's say if you have a header, what you're gonna do is you're gonna create another row on top, tr, and inside, instead of using td as a cell item, you're gonna say th, h for head. So over here, you're going to say, let's say this is the first name, and you want to create another cell for the head. So you're going to say th and say last name. Save, refresh, and you see this particular th by default by the browser is actually bolded. And actually, we want borders on that one as well. So I'm going to come over here, put a comma, and put in th because we want borders on that one as well. Save, refresh, you see the borders are there. Now, one last trick that I want to share with you for this video, and we're going to continue more on the next one on tables as well, is that there's a property for CSS where you see these multiple borders over here, one for the table, which is the outer layer, and one for the internal cells, right? So it seems like there are double borders, which there are. These are double borders because multiple items have multiple borders. So there's a property in CSS where you can actually collapse all these borders into one single border. So that property is called border collapse, and the value you provide to that particular property is collapse. So you just do that, save, refresh, and you see that it kind of merged all that padding and spacing, and now it's like a single border, all in one, unified. So that's pretty much it for this video. I'm going to talk to you in the next, where we're going to learn a little bit more about tables.